You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4, moving forward.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4.
Good to have you with us on this Thursday. Let's begin with the weather. Jacob Montesano is out on the patio, and it's cloudy here in Madison, but a little rain to the south and east of us today, Jacob.
Yeah, we've been seeing rain kind of pass through the area over the last couple of hours, mostly in the form of light to moderate showers. May have had a few rumbles of thunder, but for the most part, it's just been some shower activity. And right now, we're only seeing some light showers in the far southeastern portion of our area. Also, some light rain further up north in Juneau and Adams County. But looking to the southeast, nothing too extreme right now, but we are expecting some thunderstorms later tonight. Now, we also have seen the winds increase compared to yesterday, kind of like what it was 2 days ago. Current wind speeds are up near 30 miles per hour for some areas, and these are obviously just the sustained winds. Now, looking at the current temperatures, they are warmer than yesterday. The winds have been helping warm those temperatures up. Upper 50s, lower 60s right now. But as we get into the overnight hours, the big story will be the potential thunderstorms. Now, as we look at future track, we'll continue to see some light showers, maybe a few isolated storms for the rest of the daylight hours today. But after sunset, we'll start to see more scattered showers and storms move into the area. Right now, it looks like the heaviest rain will be north of Madison, but overall the best chance of severe weather will be for Madison and areas to the west. This is going to continue during the overnight hours and into Friday morning, where we could see a round of showers and storms south of us, and then again up north as we get closer to sunrise Friday. So overall, a very good chance of showers and storms depending no matter where you're located across the viewing area. But that's just for tonight. Once we get to Friday afternoon, we have an alert day in the forecast for the potential of storms that could produce large hail and strong winds. I'll talk through the forecast on that coming up a little bit later.
All right, Jacob, we'll check back in just a little bit. Thank you. First at 4, 2 people are dead after a mass shooting at Florida State University.
At least 6 people are also hurt. Police have arrested the suspect, who's in the hospital right now. And we've learned the suspect is actually the son of a Florida deputy, a 20-year-old student. In a news conference, law enforcement officials said he had access to his mother's job. The campus is now secure, but students are still shaken up.
I was parking my car, walking back, and as I was walking back, I see these group of girls crying, really upset, walking back from the student union, told me they heard gunshots, and they just ran and came back to their apartment where I was walking to.
All classes are canceled for students tomorrow, and we will continue to provide updates on the situation as soon as we have them.
The man charged with abducting a teenage girl believed to be pregnant with his child will remain in the Dodge County Jail on a $2 million bond. 40-year-old Gary Day appeared in court in Dodge County today. In February, Day allegedly abducted then 16-year-old Sophia Franklin from her home in Beaver Dam. An Amber Alert went out for Franklin, who was found 2 months later in Nebraska. Law enforcement there arrested Day, where he's charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor and false reporting.
Day has pleaded not guilty and was sent back to Wisconsin yesterday. In Wisconsin, prosecutors charged Day with 2 counts of child abduction and 2 counts of child enticement. He hasn't pleaded there yet. It's not clear when he'll be back in court. He's also facing charges in Arkansas, where he's on probation for felony domestic battery charges. Later on Live at 4, Tanisha Shaw will join us live from Dodge County with what we heard from today's hearing. We've been following this story ever since Sophia was first missing in February. You can find all of our past coverage and receive updates on Day's case with the free Channel 3000 mobile app.
Senator Tammy Baldwin says the Trump administration is withholding $35 million from Wisconsin Head Start centers. That is a 50% cut, her office says. Across our state, Head Start centers serve nearly 15,000 kids and their families. Typically, grants for the programs are renewed at the same time each year. Last year, $70 million in Head Start funding went to Wisconsin centers through April 15th. During the same period this year, only $35 million went out. It comes as the administration is looking into eliminating Head Start entirely.
The showdown between Harvard and the Trump administration is escalating.
The Department of Homeland Security is now threatening to strip Harvard University of its ability to enroll international students. It comes amid a broader battle over universities' autonomy. Earlier this week, the Trump administration froze more than $2 billion in federal funding for the elite university after Harvard's leaders refused to make policy changes at the Trump administration's request. Those changes focused on the White House's accusations that Harvard and other schools failed to protect Jewish students during last year's pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campuses across the U.S. Harvard officials say they are aware of the latest threats from the administration and stand by their decision. At UW-Madison, more than 24 students and recent alumni have had visas revoked, the Trump administration ordering them to leave the country. Today, UW Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin officially took a stance on the matter.
In an op-ed for the Wisconsin State Journal, Mnuchin called the termination of visas deeply troubling, and in a direct condemnation of the administration's actions, Mnuchin says revoking visas on such flimsy grounds or on no clear grounds at all seems arbitrary and unjust, and it overlooks just how much these students contribute to our university, state, and nation. Well, UW's grad students are speaking against the president's actions too. The TAA, the labor union representing graduate student workers like TAs and RAs, held a rally on Library Mall and other workers' unions on campus and community members. They're demanding the university administration continue UWPD's policy of not providing information or cooperating with ICE. Organizers say it's more important now than ever to take a stronger stance against the Trump administration's actions for international students who feel targeted.
That means providing legal support and immigration support to people who are targeted and support for contesting visa revocations. And if worst comes to worst and people are not able to stay in this country and keep working, that means helping students continue their studies and continue on their academic track, even abroad. When we talk to international students at department meetings, at TAA-wide meetings, people are very afraid.
Representative Francesca Hong and others spoke at the event. The group is also pushing for the university to take a stronger stance against the Trump administration's actions toward higher education across the country. They're demanding UW-Madison administration regularly meet and discuss their response with student workers and join a mutual defense compact with other Big Ten schools.
Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen is in El Salvador today to push for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Last month, Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported from his home in Maryland to El Salvador, where he was born. A federal judge ruled the Trump administration facilitate Abrego Garcia's return, but the White House says it won't do that. Senator Van Hollen says he was denied entry into the El Salvador prison today while trying to check on the well-being of Abrego Garcia.
So there's been no ability to find out anything about his health and well-being. I should point out that this inability to communicate with his lawyers is a violation of international law.
The Trump administration says Abrego Garcia is a gang member, but has not provided evidence of that. Coming up next on Live at 4, Will Keneally sits down with the co-chair of the legislature's audit committee.
What he has to say about the findings and audits of the University of Wisconsin and state agencies' tracking of DEI spending when we're back.
Audit were released last week. State lawmakers are looking into how much the state government is spending on diversity, equity, and inclusion. For what those next steps in the state capitol could look like, political reporter Will Keneally sat down with one of the lawmakers who ordered the audit, and he joins us with the story. Will?
Well, this audit looked at how much state agencies spent on DEI efforts, including the universities of Wisconsin. Now, that has been a target of lawmakers seeking oversight over how DEI is spent in state government. Now, in 2023, the universities had to freeze hiring for DEI positions under a deal struck with the state legislature. And we spoke with the co-chair of the legislature's audit committee, Senator Eric Wimberger, about what some of those next steps might be.
I think still too early on the legislation. The idea of DEI, that's a a categorization, a label. And can you just relabel things and now it's not DEI? It's a slippery issue to try and pare down.
So that audit committee will meet next week to discuss what some of those next steps may be. And I'd say it kind of boils down to two areas. They might try and tackle certainly the policy that will be long debated in the state capitol, as it has been already, but also just how much is spent, certainly. And they might take a look at that in the next state budget here.
Yeah, that's interesting. How might the state legislature move forward on that, and what could that even look like?
So I think one of the big questions I've at least been hearing is, for all the state government employees that work, in Dane County here, what that means. I think it might be a little bit more, grant funding for trips or various conferences that people might go to. When we were talking to the senator, he said that it won't necessarily be, eliminating any positions during that hiring freeze. They would reassign people instead of trying to get rid of them. And then also it might be somebody has a 25% part of their job towards these DEI efforts. So it might be changing job descriptions less actually getting rid of anybody.
Very interesting. We'll follow it closely. Thank you, Will. Let's get a check on the weather now. Jacob is here in the studio with this kind of cloudy and cool on this Thursday and an alert day on the way for tomorrow.
Yeah, we have that alert day in the forecast for the possible severe weather Friday afternoon, but there's also a chance of severe weather tonight. It's just not quite to the alert day level criteria that we really focus on. Now, for Friday afternoon, it's mainly going to be east and southeast of Madison. But again, tonight there's another severe weather risk that will impact other areas. And the main hazards we're expecting are large hail and strong winds. So looking at the severe weather outlook for tonight first, it's for Madison and areas to the west with a marginal risk, but it'll be a bit stronger for Friday for areas east of Madison, where there's a slight risk for Rock, Jefferson, and portions of Dane and Dodge counties. And there's also that marginal risk for Madison as well. So let's take a look at the current radar first. We are still seeing some of those light showers in the southeastern portion of our area, but overall we're not seeing much yet. But as we look at future track, we are going to maybe continue to see some of these light showers through sunset, but then after sunset we'll see some scattered showers and storms move through our area. Best chance for heavy rain early in the night will be north of Madison. And then as we get later in the night, still seeing some of these pop-up showers and storms with a little bit more consistent rain south later in the night. And then areas north may see an additional round of some showers and storms closer to sunrise. And then as we head into the morning after sunrise, we'll see more showers and storms. So overall, just continuous chance of rain, although maybe not covering the entire area. Now, later in the morning, we'll dry out briefly, and then this is where the alert day begins, especially for areas east and southeast, where we are going to see these pop-up showers and storms form, especially once we get towards the evening. And some of those storms could be on the stronger side. In fact, some of them are likely to be on the stronger side. Again, large hail and strong winds are the most likely hazards, but we could even see a minor isolated tornado. Now, the good news is that will clear out pretty quickly Friday night. May see some lingering showers and storms, but most of it will clear out for sure once we get to Saturday. Now, unfortunately, the dry weather won't last too long because Easter Sunday is looking pretty wet, especially by the afternoon and evening, where we'll see periods of rainfall. For your Easter Sunday, might be dry to start the day. So if you have any, outdoor plans, maybe try to get it done early because it's very unlikely. It's very likely going to be raining in the evening, and it's very unlikely any outdoor plans will be able to stay in place during that time frame. Now, once we get to Monday, we'll see some lingering showers. It'll clear off during the afternoon, and then the temperatures will warm up after Monday for the rest of next week.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, hopefully up north we can get some good spring weather because the NFL draft gets underway 1 week from today in Green Bay.
Yep, ahead of the big event, we talked to News 3 Now's Packer contributor Jason Wilde about what to expect.
We have a lot of big questions for you. First of all, how is Jair Alexander's situation factoring into this draft thinking this time around?
Yeah, great question, Brady, because it's anyone's guess right now because, Brian Gutekunst has made it very clear that there's a tiny possibility that he'll be back on this roster, but I don't think that's the truth. I think their minds have been made up for a while, and so they've been able to plan for what they're going to do at the cornerback position. So, look, I've never heard a general manager talk about a player who's still on the roster the way Goody did about Jair Alexander. He said, well, if he's not on our team and he's not helping us win, we need to get something for him because we've invested a lot in him. usually you don't talk about players that you plan on having on your team in that manner. So I think it's safe to say they're ready to move on, and they've been planning for how this affects their draft ever since.
The draft is always a very exciting time for the Badgers. Let's talk about some Badger prospects. What are people saying about Hunter Waller's draft stock?
Yeah, it's interesting, Susan, because Hunter Wohler is one of those, like, Wisconsin guys, right? He's born and raised here, played for the Badgers. We all root for those guys, right? But it's interesting because all these draft experts have varying opinions of where he's going to go. Some think he could go as early as the 3rd round, others toward the end of day 3 in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round. So I would just say this about Hunter Wohler, just like I would say way back in the day about Jimmy Leonard. I'm not betting against this guy. And so I expect him, wherever he lands, wherever he's drafted, to find success in the NFL.
Well, yeah, on the flip side, when it comes to prospects, what are the Packers' biggest needs that they're looking for?
The question that we always ask is, what do you see your needs as, and who are you thinking? And we always get, well, we want the best player available, which is a great cliche. But in this case, it could actually work in their advantage because they have so many needs. They need help at corner. They need help at wide receiver. They need help on the defensive line. They need help on the offensive line. So the beauty of that is they could basically go in and say, okay, whoever the best player available at any of those positions are, that's our guy. So that makes it a lot easier for them.
So it's more of a better bet to take the best player available versus the player that you really need. Is that what you're saying, if it comes down to that?
Well, Susan, it's funny because that's what GMs always want us to believe. But there's no denying that need fits into the equation. They say that they don't think about it, but it's funny how it always works out that you get a bunch of players that fit the holes in your roster. I don't know how that happens, but the beauty of this is they do have a lot of needs, and you wouldn't think so for a team that has been to the playoffs the last 2 years and is so young. But Brian Gutekunst goes into this draft with only 8 picks. He wants to add more by trading back and adding more picks that way. I would expect him to end up taking about 10 players. If he's able to do that, then he can do a few of those best player available picks that don't fit a need because the guy was too good to pass up.
We are really looking forward to next week. I can't imagine the energy that this is bringing up there. So we look forward to having more conversations with you as we get closer to the draft.
We'll talk to you soon, Jason. Thanks so much.
You guys are the best. Thanks for having me.
Well, don't forget News 3 Now. We'll be talking about the NFL draft in Wisconsin all this week and next. The team coverage will be led by Eric, Zach, Andrew, and, of course, Jason Wilde. Well, coming up, how you can help the River Food Pantry with just one bike ride.
Welcome back. We have talked a lot this year about how the number of visits to Dane County food pantries has more than doubled in the last 2 years.
And if you'd like to help, the River Ride is next weekend. So this is a charity bike ride to support the River Food Pantry. The ride starts at 7 Acre Dairy Company in Paoli. Nick Mink from 7 Acre is here with us today. Welcome.
Hi,
guys.
Nick. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again.
This sounds like a fun bike ride, and I found, so there's a couple of things people can do.
Yep.
The one-way biker, 19 miles.
19 miles, the easy one.
Round trip, 38 miles.
38 miles.
And this one sounds like a lot of fun. The supporter.
Yep.
They don't have to do anything but sit and drink and help.
Yep, sit and eat and drink. So that is actually the easiest one. So we kind of thought about having an opportunity for people that maybe don't want to ride from 7 Acre to Bailey's Run, but they really want to support the work of the River Food Pantry. And so we kind of came up with this supporter where you can come, you can have breakfast, you can have lunch, you can have drinks, you can come back. We're going to have a little after party with the band at the end of the ride. And so you don't even have to ride to do the river ride.
This is next weekend, not this weekend. We'll remind you about that in just a second, but it's such a beautiful ride, the Sugar River Valley. This is the first time you're doing this. Why are you doing this to support the River Food Pantry?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, the need of these pantries has exploded in the last few years. And the executive director is a good friend of mine. We like to do charity events at 7 Acre all the time. And we thought about something that could support their work, but also kind of be a fun little kind of kickoff to summer. Obviously, the Sugar River Valley and Paoli, like, what are we known for? Biking. Yep. Some of the best roads in country for biking anywhere in Wisconsin. And so we kind of try to put those two together, be able to support the River Food Pantry and give people a nice, pretty manageable ride to do early in the biking season.
It's a beautiful area. I think everyone's just in love with it. And so it really does merge a couple of interests in the community, helping each other out, and then just the love for that area.
Absolutely.
So it's a cool thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How much money are you hoping to raise for the pantry?
We're hoping to raise $5,000 for the pantry.
Well, that would go a long way.
And the big thing is this is our first year, so this is something that 7 Acre and the River and Bailey's Run are really committed to. Let's figure this out, let's start small, and let's grow it over the coming years to make it into a really signature event for the River Food Pantry.
I think it's easy for a business owner to just be transactional in the community, right? But then there are folks like you who are being a part of the community and helping out. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, I mean, we are kind of stewards of this remarkable old building, which is this dairy factory in Paoli that operated for 100 years and has this profound community connection, not only to people of Paoli, but all over southern Wisconsin who delivered milk there. And so our own building is like this community treasure. Yeah. So there's many kind of nonprofit community elements of like even being a part of 7 Acre. So it's just kind of in our DNA, and it's fun to do. And things like this really bring people out because people love to like have a good time and support a great cause, which is what this will be.
Very good. And remember, the River Ride is next Saturday, April 26th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Registration is $85. All the money goes to support the River Food Pantry, and you can find out more at riverfoodpantry.org.
Are you all ready for Easter?
We're getting there.
You're having a big brunch, right?
Yep, the Easter Bunny's coming up.
All right,
he's hopping along to Paoli today.
Well, best of luck at the ride and continued success.
Thanks, guys.
At 7 Acre Dairy. Great to see you.
Well, coming up, a tumultuous meeting among Wisconsin Elections Commission officials.
Our Ellie La Liberté was there. She'll tell us what she heard when Live at 4 returns.
Watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Thanks for joining us on this Thursday, Friday Eve.
Friday Eve.
Almost there.
Almost there. We're doing so well, everyone. Just keep going. Well, we are looking ahead to some alert day conditions overnight, and the weather words are storms tonight and tomorrow. Jacob Montesano is here with our first warn forecast. Jacob?
Yeah, we're going to see some storms move in a little bit later in the night. Right now we're seeing some of those showers, but nothing is too heavy and certainly nothing is severe yet. But the alert day, while it's in the forecast for Friday afternoon, we're also going to see some severe weather tonight. Now, also right now we're seeing some pretty strong winds, a bit different from yesterday where the winds were calm. Wind speeds up around 20 to 25 miles per hour for some locations, but that has warmed the temperatures up into the middle and upper 50s, even lower 60s for a few locations. So overall, it definitely feels pretty comfortable out here. Now, throughout the evening, we're going to continue to see some light rain, but nothing is going to be too heavy yet. It'll be a little bit later in the night when some of those thunderstorms begin to move into the area. But we can't rule out a passing shower, maybe an isolated storm through around that 10 p.m. range. But once we get later in the night, we are going to see more widespread showers and storms move into the area. Heaviest rain for the early overnight hours looks to be for areas north of Madison. And then a little bit later, we'll see some consistent rain south with another round of showers and storms for areas north as we get closer to sunrise. So overall, there's going to be a lot of chance of some showers and storms tonight, and that's going to continue for tomorrow as well, where we have that alert day in the forecast, mainly for areas east and southeast of Madison. That's where the most likely severe weather will occur. I'll talk through the forecast on this, though, coming up a little bit later.
Thank you, Jacob. Now to Dodge County, the man accused of kidnapping a pregnant teenage girl from Beaver Dam is making his first court appearance in Wisconsin.
40-year-old Gary Day is now facing a $2 million bond after being caught with 17-year-old Sophia Franklin in Nebraska. Our Tanisha Shaw has more.
40-year-old Gary Day and then 16-year-old Sophia Franklin met online in 2024, according to a criminal complaint. Franklin is now 17 years old and told the Beaver Dam Police Department that she spent weeks with Day at his home in Arkansas during the summer of 2024.
Court finds that defendant presents an extreme flight risk and an extreme risk to this victim and other potential victims.
Months later, in February 2025, Day would travel to Sophia's home in Beaver Dam and leave with her. They would travel through several states by driving or hitchhiking, going as far as Texas.
Finds that substantial cash bail is necessary to ensure future appearances and to protect the public, The court will order $2 million cash bail.
Day is facing several charges here in Wisconsin: 2 counts of child enticement and abduction of a child.
Orders no contact with the victim, her family, or her residence. The court will also order no contact under 940.74 while he's in custody. Rather than limiting other contact to immediate family, I'm going to include another order that he have no contact with minors.
Also in this criminal complaint, Sophia Franklin says she's engaged and pregnant with Gary Day's child. Gary Day said he's never had any sexual intercourse with Sophia Franklin. Reporting in Juneau, Tanasia Shaw, News 3 Now.
Tanasia, thank you. We've learned that Day's next court appearance will be on Wednesday.
One person is dead and a teenager is in custody for a possible accidental shooting. Madison police say just after 10 o'clock Wednesday night, officers responded to Fish Hatchery Road near South Park Street for reports of a person shot. First responders took that person to the hospital for their injuries, but that person died. A 17-year-old is in custody facing charges for homicide by negligent handling of a dangerous weapon. Well, the state agency that oversees Wisconsin elections held a quarterly meeting today, but the meeting was interrupted by a very heated argument.
Our Ellie LaLiberte shows us what turned the commission to chaos.
The Wisconsin Elections Commission meeting, meant to provide an update about the Madison missing ballot investigation, instead turned to a tense argument about Milwaukee.
You are out of order, and I will eject you from this meeting if you disobey again. You're going to try and muzzle me?
As Democratic appointee WEC Chair Ann Jacobs announced that the commission will continue the investigation into the nearly 200 missing absentee ballots in Madison from the November election, Republican appointee Bob Spindell offered comment but veered off the agenda, instead bringing up concerns about how Milwaukee counts its votes.
And when we have a major issue like this, it's something that the Wisconsin Election Commission needs to bring up and needs to discuss. This is a very serious problem in Milwaukee, especially since it really hasn't happened before.
What Bob tried to hijack our meeting about today were these conspiracy theories that he just went through with you. Hijacking a meeting for things that are not on the agenda needs to stop. The commission has work to do.
Commissioner Spindell wants an investigation into Milwaukee's ballot counting process. However, Chairwoman Jacobs says she does not believe the investigation would have a purpose other than, quote, whining, complaining, and conspiracy theories. Reporting downtown Madison, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. The State Elections Commission update on that investigation into the missing Madison absentee ballots said commission staff questioned the Madison clerk at the center of the investigation, the same clerk who has now resigned. The investigation will continue, however. The State Elections Commission will now start deposing city and county staff.
Now, 2 people are dead after a mass shooting at Florida State University. At least 6 people are hurt. Police have arrested the suspect, who's in the hospital right now. And we've learned the suspect is actually the son of a Florida deputy, a 20-year-old student at FSU. Police said he had access to his mother's weapons because of her job. The campus is now secure, but officials are asking students to stay away from the active crime scene areas.
We got a call from my daughter before it hit the news. We've been on the phone with her for over an hour ever since. As a father, my wife's in the car and a mother, we are concerned for our daughter, but at least we're talking to our daughter and know that she is safe.
All classes are canceled for students tomorrow. Coming up on Live at 4, the Trump administration is making more cuts, this time to groups raising awareness about epilepsy.
Our Merrill Hubbard will show us what's at stake when Live at 4 continues.
118 epilepsy organizations nationwide are uniting to oppose cuts to federal epilepsy programs, and this follows staffing and potential funding cuts within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Our Merrill Hubbard sat down with local epilepsy leaders to see what's at stake.
It's something that will cause you to have to give up certain things depending on how severe your case is. But what got me through it, I think, was the people.
John Mirasola is the Client Services Coordinator for the Epilepsy Foundation of Wisconsin. 100,000 Wisconsinites live with active epilepsy, including him. And the purpose of the foundation is to give those people resources through services like support groups, seizure first aid, advocacy, and overall connection. But this year, organizations nationwide that aim to help people with epilepsy are on the chopping block with federal funding.
And after so many years of progress and finally starting to better understand and treat the epilepsies, we're just kind of having the floor fall from beneath us. And we're all very scared and concerned about the road to come.
Lauren Widener, Chief Advocacy and Government Relations Officer at the Epilepsy Foundation of America, says that federal epilepsy research and programs have seen dramatic cuts in staffing already, and there could be funding cuts on the horizon. Reporting in Madison, Meryl Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Meryl. And if you'd like to support the Epilepsy Foundation, mark your calendar. The Madison Walk to End Epilepsy is Saturday, May 10th at McKee Farms Park.
Well, in some more political news, we are halfway through the budget process here.
That's right. We're about 2.5 months in with 2.5 months to go. And among the agencies set to receive billions of dollars, the Department of Health Services. Joining us now with a breakdown of where your tax dollars will be spent, political analyst Brandon Scholes. Hi, Brandon.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Okay, so we're halfway there.
Halfway there, and just to recap, where's the money spent? Well, there's 55 agencies, boards, and commissions that it's spent. It's $119 billion. And last time, the stack of the size of the budget was like this. We're going to take one agency today. Before we get there, let's talk a little bit about what's happened. We've had 2 public hearings across the state, and we're going to have 2 more. One is up north in Hayward. The other one is coming in Wausau. And that's where people can come and speak to the Joint Finance Committee. They're there all day. They get 3 minutes, but usually you see these meetings are packed, and this is where people go to want to talk to their legislators, share their stories. After that, the Joint Finance Committee comes back in May, and that's when they sit up at the Capitol and they go through day after day after day of going through all the agency budgets. They have agency briefings, and eventually they start to vote on whether they want to keep the governor's proposal or their proposal or somewhere in the middle or none of it. So they go through a month, and then in June, we'll see the legislature start to vote on those things. So we're getting to the hot pot. It's going to be, red hot pretty soon come May and June. But we're getting there. But in the meantime, we thought we'd talk about some of the agencies that spend a lot of money. And there's a lot that don't spend very much. The Education Communication Board has a $14 million budget. It's teeny, tiny, but they do a lot of good work. But something like the Department of Health Services.
That's the big one.
Huge, which is huge. In fact, and this is a lot of tiny print, but of the $119 billion, the Department of Health Services has the biggest budget, followed by, you can see it up on the screen, $42 billion. It's almost half of what they spend. Really? It's followed by the Department of Public Instruction, which is about $8 billion, and then followed by the UW, which is only $7 billion. So it's big stuff. But a lot of programs in the Department of Health Services, almost of 119 programs, 17 deal with Medicaid or some sort of Medicaid expansion or Medicaid programs. But there's lots of different programs. There's nursing homes, there's interpreter service, there's lead poisoning, Alzheimer's, women's health, grant for diaper banks. I mean, you could go on and on and on for all these programs. But you have to take a look at this because they're going to argue about this. This is a lot of money. So you look at the increase. For next year, 2026, it's $20 billion. For the next year, 27, and that's a 25% increase. The next year, it's $21 billion, and that's 5% over the next one. So there's a lot of money built in, and they expect a lot of money come from the federal government. They're looking for almost, $20 billion coming from the Fed. So whether or not that money comes or not, that's questionable. The other thing to look at is they have almost 6,700 employees spread throughout not only the big office in Madison, but then 4 other offices around the state. The governor's proposing to increase that to 6,800 employees. One of the fights that people will be watching is, do they work in the office or do they work at home? So that is a brewing fight in the legislature, and whether or not they approve the staff, the full-time positions is another story, but there are things that they will agree on. You'll see that they will probably look to the budget to say what things can Republicans and the governor and Democrats agree on. Postpartum benefits, probably one of them. And again, there's 119 programs, so they're all kind of negotiable to see where they end up. But
so they are on the same page about some things.
I found at least one.
Yeah, well done.
But give them time because there's a lot of people that are going to be talking about this. There's a lot of agency briefings. They will deep dive into it. And remember, they could continue to what's called cost to continue. If they just did nothing, it would cost about 1.5 billion, 1.6 here for the cost to continue their operation. So that is a possibility too, and we're still talking a lot of money. So if they get the big one out of the way, and this is probably the fight that you'll see coming at the very end, because this is the one where everybody's going to clash over. This is probably the one that has the biggest impact on it. So they can get updates here, they can look at Wisconsin. I get updates, they can call their legislature to find out what's going on, or go to one of those public hearings if you're up in Hayward or, up north someplace.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about all the nuts and bolts that go into some of these big numbers that we hear about. Yeah.
If you want to read through it sometime, I'd be happy to show you where it is. But I couldn't.
Light reading.
It's almost impossible to take you through all the pages because some go over here, some go over here, some money comes here, and it's really for the people that do the budget. You really have to give them a ton of credit because it is incredibly hard to understand.
Well, thank you for being on with us to break it all down.
Yes, helping us understand it.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Brandon. Thank you.
Coming up on Live at 4, Jacob shows us when to expect potential storms.
And later, a big name in country music is coming to Wisconsin soon, where you can see Brad Paisley perform, and when we come back. Yeah.
Well, Jacob is back with a look at our first warn forecast. Jacob?
Thanks, Brady. Taking a look at the severe weather outlook for tonight, there's a marginal risk for Madison and areas to the west for possible severe weather. But then Friday, where we have the alert day, there's a slight risk for areas east of Madison. This includes most of Rock and most of Jefferson counties. Also includes portions of Dane and Dodge County with a marginal risk just to the north and west of that. So looking at the rainfall forecast for the rest of the day today through sunset, we're only going to see a few passing showers, maybe an isolated storm here or there. But as we get later into the overnight hours, we're going to start to see some scattered showers and storms. The first round of heavy rain looks like it will definitely impact areas north of Madison, and then we may dry out briefly. Still seeing some pop-up showers and storms before more rain moves through, this time south. Later in the night, closer to sunrise, we'll see a round of showers and storms north of Madison. So overall, throughout the night, we'll see on and off showers and storms for pretty much everybody. Now, once we get to Friday morning, we'll see it dry out a little bit, and then the alert day will really begin during the afternoon for areas east and southeast of Madison. Still gonna see some rain for the northwest, but focus on this area over here. That's where some of these pop-up showers and storms are going to form, and it's very likely that some of these will be severe. Large hail and strong winds will be the most likely hazards, and this is going to continue through the evening as well. In fact, it may even be the strongest during the evening, especially the further southeast you're located. This definitely could creep up a little bit further northwest than what this model is showing, but even so, still going to see some of those heavy thunderstorms during the evening, and then it will clear out pretty early Friday, and then Saturday will be dry. So looking at the most likely hazards, again, large hail, strong winds. Can't rule out an isolated tornado either. It is very unlikely, but not a complete, not a 0% chance of it, so we did want to mention that. But again, wind and hail will be those more likely hazards. Now, as we take a look at the weekend forecast, Saturday looking pretty good, although it will be cloudy. Sunday, unfortunately, for Easter, we are going to see plenty of rain later in the day, but notice 1:30 p.m. looks like it still might be dry for much of the area, so we may be dry long enough in the morning for any early plans to still be outside. But by the evening, I would advise anyone that has any outdoor evening plans to change them for the Eastern Sunday, because it is going to be consistently raining from about the middle afternoon through the overnight hours and into Monday morning, and then it will clear out by Monday afternoon.
Big news, country fans and football fans. Brad Paisley will end the NFL draft on Saturday, April 26th.
Local stations in Green Bay are reporting the country music star will headline the NFL draft concert series. Green Bay's getting all the good stuff. The draft concert will start about a half hour after the final pick is made. The NFL expects the concert to start around 7 p.m., depending on how long the teams take to make their picks.
Maybe there's still time to get up there.
Yes.
Maybe they need some more volunteers. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow on Live at 4, the Badger football team gets ready for this weekend's spring showcase. Spring football is here. And later tonight on News 3 Now at 6, hear from Madison police after an accidental shooting last night. That's coming up at 6. Thanks for watching Live at 4 with us today on this Thursday, everybody. We hope to see you back here tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.